Simplicity is the prerequisite for reliability. Edsger Dijkstra. My friends, we work on simplicity day after day, week after week, month after month. It is so important because if you make the decision-making process too complicated, it won't work. It's like a super complicated machine that just keeps breaking down. Now let's jump into these charts. We see the S&P 500 up a little bit for the day, 0.50%. Are we going to have a weekly vertical crossover by the end of the week? We might. So we'll wait, watch, and see. We have a red open box spinning top or hammer, inverted hammer at this point. We'll see how that goes. We'll watch as things continue to progress. Derivative oscillator up, price percent oscillator trying to cross over. Two-day chart. Well, we saw the spinning top for Monday and Tuesday. The Wednesday, Thursday candle is a down candle, even though it was up a little bit on Thursday. Price percent oscillator still positive and flat. Derivative oscillator losing upward momentum, but still green. The half day, and we can redraw that trend line to get us a little bit closer. Half day still heading down. Derivative oscillator still negative and losing some downward momentum, but still quite negative. Price percent oscillator flattening, but still drifting down. At the end of the day, we had almost a doji. So price down in the morning, recovering some in the afternoon. That's where we are on the S&P, still waiting to see if we're going to have that weekly vertical crossover. There's going to be enough energy to push it through. Don't know yet. Nasdaq 100 up a little bit, 0.24%. Very similar symbol as far as the candlestick goes to the S&P 500, and it too is trying to push over. Maybe it'll make it. We'll see what happens on Friday. We see the derivative oscillator gaining some upward momentum and growing. It's green. What about the two-day chart? Big red down candle for the last 2 days. Price percent oscillator, those still positive, heading down just a little bit. Derivative oscillator quite positive, losing momentum. We look at the half day, down in the morning, recovering some in the afternoon for that 0.24% up move for the day. So on both the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, we're waiting to see if we're going to have those weekly vertical crossovers. They may or may not occur. We'll wait. Now, what about 20-year bonds? Down for the day, 0.75%, and a down week, reaching a lower low. Price percent oscillator spiking over, going down. Derivative oscillator still negative, losing a little bit of downward momentum. What do we see on the two-day? Big bounding down red candle. We bounced off that red signal line, started pulling away from it quite nicely on the Monday, Tuesday candle, and this Wednesday, Thursday candle moving down quite nicely. And again, bonds still moving down hard. So that is what's happening there as far as the weekly and the two-day goes. We look at the half day, we can see where things bounded down in the morning, pulled up a little bit in the afternoon. So bonds down 0.75%, moving in the right direction. If you're in TBF, Tango, Bravo, Foxtrot, what is that? That, of course, is the short chart, TBF. There we go. It is the ProShares short of 20-year treasuries. It's the opposite of TLT, and it's what you can practice getting in. And of course, look at that. You can easily fractionally trade that when you start thinking you're getting good. Won't cost you but $18.50 or so. You can see how well you can do tracking the inverse of what's happening with TLT. Also, of course, if you're a Patreon member and you've taken our three-part series, Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way, then of course you can short 20-year bonds by doing what? Buying puts. Okay, practice trading puts. Remember, we're not a stock calling service. We're an education firm. Things are looking good. Now, let's move away from 20-year bonds. Go to gold, up 0.38% for the day. What does that mean? Well, it means that we're not having a weekly vertical crossover going down. It doesn't look like this week unless gold crashes tomorrow. Derivative oscillator still green, losing momentum. The derivative oscillator, again, is holding on. Price percent oscillator heading down some, but still positive. 2-day, of course, rotated over, going down back on the 18th of March. And what has it done? Well, it went down for a few days sideways, saw a little bump down there on the Monday, Tuesday, the 29th and 30th of March. Since then, it's sort of been tracking sideways with either spinning tops or dojis. Price percent oscillator still going down. Derivative oscillator negative and losing some downward momentum. I want to see a 2-day recross and gold take off again, but that's just what I want. Now, what did we see at the end of the day? We did see the half-day crossover going up, which is nice. What does that mean for us as far as the 2-day? Nothing yet, but you got to have that happen first. So we'll continue to wait, watch, and see where gold goes. We have no trading gold right now. Why? The weekly's up and the 2-day's down. And when you have that kind of schizophrenia in our charts, we don't trade it. Now, lastly, we'll go to Bitcoin. And depending on where you look, New York Times Bitcoin down. New York Times, I always say that. New York Stock Exchange Bitcoin Index down 1.92%. Grayscale Bitcoin up a little bit, but we look at our Bitcoin futures, they're all down about 0.9%, so a little less than a full percent. But let's look at where Bitcoin is. We had that weekly vertical crossover. It's lost some steam over the course of the week. Derivative oscillator still moving up. Price percent oscillator still positive and heading up some, not totally flat yet. We have a red open box candle for the week, a slowdown in the down movement, a little small candle too. Price, though, is above that weekly trend line. Look at the 2-day, still positive, but this latest 2-day candle, a big downer, pushed through earlier in the week, of course, our prior 2-day trend line. Price percent oscillator positive, heading down. Derivative oscillator positive, losing upward momentum. We go to the half-day chart, and for that, let's go over to XBTF. That's where you can see where things went down in the morning, recovered a little bit in the afternoon. Price percent oscillator, though, on the half-day chart still going down. Derivative oscillator still heading down. So Bitcoin, even though we had that weekly vertical crossover last week, not moving in the right direction yet. But what have we seen in the past with those weekly vertical crossovers? And eventually Bitcoin gets going. So we'll hope that happens and we'll be ready to move on it when it does. That's where we are, folks. Thank you so much for being with us. Always love to hear from you. CW@chartingwealth.com. Patreon members, getting ready to send out to you your 20 weekly vertical crossovers for the week. And friends, if you remember the texting service, you'll be getting the text tonight, but just be aware, we have potential weekly vertical crossovers going up on the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. All the best, my friends. God bless from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.